So when we talk about integrating our theological education into our formation, we talk about integrating it through reflection, relationships, and practices.
Great.
So through the notion of self-assessment, of reflection,
Brilliant.
of theological reflection, practical reflection, reflection upon context and cultures, right? I hear some of your language of rituals being around that.
Totally.
Can you say something
And
more about
influenced
that?
by that.
Okay, good.
What we're describing as practices are not just things that you do, they do something to you, right? So I sometimes try to describe those deeply formative practices, just to appreciate their power, we're really talking about rituals. But they are formative rituals, and I think the most formative rituals you could even call liturgies. But that means there are liturgies everywhere, right? So you have to become aware of the cultural liturgies that are at play, and not all liturgies are oriented to the same vision of the kingdom, right? And I think all kinds of Christian leaders and professionals are constantly trying to negotiate this tension between being citizens of the city of God, who are pilgrims on the way to that coming kingdom, and collaborating and being invested in sort of the earthly city, which can sometimes be bent in a very different direction.
Right.
And so negotiating those spaces, that requires becoming aware of the formative power of the cultural practices, the liturgies of my workplace, right? As somebody who's gone through graduate school in the humanities, right? You have to become aware. It's not just what they're teaching me to think, it's all the unspoken rites that I'm being drawn through that are actually trying to make me a certain kind of person. So I think leaders are going to be those who undertake what we could call a practices audit, right? You step back, this is the reflection piece, you step back and you're not just asking what are the messages in my field, right? Or what are the ideas that are floating around my industry. I'm trying to step back and I'm trying to read the practices, read the rituals. What story is carried in the rituals of my industry? And they're not going to be explicit, they're implicit, they're tacit. But a good leader is somebody who's going to be able to sort of see through those and realize, no, actually, this ritual is informed by a very different story. That's not excuse to check out, but it is a way of becoming aware and then saying, what do I need to do as a Christian leader and for a Christian community to enact countermeasures to that?